Hello, everybody in the interwebs. Good to have you here. My name is Adam Henkel with the Makers Mob. I'm here with Michael Heanssgen. Is that right?
Close.
That was close. Here, he's a member of the Makers Mob, and we're going to be kind of diving into his story today, which is really awesome. If you didn't read any of the descriptions about what we're going to be talking about, it's a pretty powerful and inspiring story that we're going to hear from Michael today. So just stick with us for a few minutes. We're going to do a little bit of audio check to see where people are from, do a little bit of announcements, and then we'll get into Michael's story. So Michael, why don't you just say hi and tell us where you're from, just to do a little audio check. And everybody, if you could let us know if you can hear us both fine in the chat, that would be awesome.
Hi, I'm Mike Heanssgen, and I'm from Northern Ontario, near Timmins to be exact. So I'm pretty north, pretty cold. Don't share the same weather as Adam, but yeah. So I'm just from a small little community, not too big, nothing crazy, and that's where I'm from.
So how far north of Toronto would you be?
About 7-8 hours.
Okay, so you are north.
Yeah.
You're very north.
Awesome.
Hey, Chelsea Henkel, that's my wife. She's listening in. Check that out. So we're gonna dive into Michael's story here in just a second. I got some announcements that I want to make for these lives that we do on a weekly basis, as well as for members who are or people who are members of the Makers Mob, just so you guys know what's happening. So let me just share you quickly, do our announcements quick. Next week, I'm going to be going live at the same time as we are right now, Tuesday, May 11th at 8 o'clock Eastern, that's 5 o'clock Pacific, with Rob Rojas from Rojas Carpentry. You see the picture of his little shop there. We're going to be talking about working in a small workspace and operating a business out of there. He builds, he does a lot of cool things. He makes a lot of different things, actually, but we're going to be focusing on cutting boards and charcuterie boards, serving trays and things like that, and then as well working out of a small workshop. So that's going to be awesome next week with Rob. Inside the Makers Mob, if you're a member, there are live replays. Look how happy we are. That's Chris, the Third Coast Craftsman. We did a live where he walked through his shop a couple weeks ago. Any of the lives that we do inside the Makers Mob. So every Thursday we go live with the different makers in the Makers Mob for members only, and you can get all those replays inside there. So if you're a member, you can check those out in the live tab. That was last Thursday with the Samurai Carpenter. And man, look how happy we are. We're all happy at the Makers Mob. Anyways, moving on. Next Thursday, inside the Makers Mob for members only, we're going to be talking about veneer work with John Peters. Sorry, that's this Thursday. That's in 2 days. And we are going to be announcing the Project of the Month winner from last month, who's going to take home these beautiful prizes, which is awesome. And then next Thursday, inside the Makers Mob, we're going to talk about how to make money woodworking. This is Cam from Blacktail Studios. He's going to share insights on how to operate a successful woodworking business. And he's doing very well right now, both on YouTube and his woodworking business. So that's going to be really awesome to dive into that with him. Kamiko course coming up with Neil Paskin from Pask Makes. That's going to be awesome. That's in the next month or so. We're going to release that. And it's going to be like a 2-part course as well as a project to go along with it. So you have that to look forward to. And then with these lives, we offer a $4.95 for your first month. If you want to join the Makers Mob and get in on all of that, as well as all the tutorials and plans that we have available and the private community to get involved with that, then you can click the link that you see in the description of wherever you're watching. So, Michael, let's dive into your story. Super excited to chat with you. We met earlier, it was last week, right?
Yep, last Tuesday, and we talked all about Michael's story, and I mean, Michael's been a member of the Makers Mob for years now, and this is actually the first time I've heard this story, and I was blown away.
So let's just go back in time and start to kind of paint a picture or set the foundation of your story. Like, where did this story start, like 3-4 years ago? Kind of what were you doing in life, and what were you feeling, and what was happening?
I think I was feeling the typical 8 to 5, going to work every day, not feeling a purpose, and I just had no purpose. I had started my career very early. My father's in my trade, so I was like 14 when I started, and just the shininess ran off, and you get in a groove, and you get in a depression, and you have to work your way out of it. And that's really where I was at. Just no purpose, like unmotivated to really do anything.
And so what were you?
That's just not me.
Yeah. What was your day job?
I'm an HVAC mechanic. Yeah, I do heating and cooling.
Okay. That's
my trade. That's what I do for a living.
Yeah. And then at that time, this is 3-4 years ago, you said you're in a depression. So you're not
very badly, actually.
So how bad was it?
Like, I had two options. I was either going or I was staying.
Yeah.
That was it. It's black and white. It's not a pretty story. It's not nice to say it out like that. I have kids.
Yeah.
And so that's why that wasn't an option for me. Mm-hmm. I have kids. Selfish. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't going out like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a friend, a really good friend, my friend Al DeCare, and I met with him, and I said, like, I'd like to get back into woodworking because I really enjoyed that in high school. And then he just happened to say, well, hey, this person's husband died, and he's selling all the tools. Or she's selling all the tools, I should say, because it was the wife. And I said, really? Like, call her right now. Like, I'm going to go there right now. And I did. And we made a deal. It was like $800 for basically a small shop. And I said, okay, well, give me to the next day. I'll come and I'll pick all the tools up. I'll have your money. And she said, listen, like, if it fits in your van, because I drive a van for work, you can have it.
Huh.
So obviously, naturally, well, I loaded some tools up, and my friend loaded some tools up because he went with me.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the start of my shop. And that's how I got my tools, because, I mean, as a lot of members on here know, and I think people who want to start this out, it is crazy expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very expensive to get set up.
Like, there's a guy on YouTube called Mere Mortals, or Woodworking for Mere Mortals, and I super appreciate what he does, because it is super expensive to start this craft.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a gift from God. And that's how I look at it. I really do look at it as a gift from God. God gave me that was my second chance.
So you got a shop full of tools, and then,
like, I mean, everything. Like, I mean, everything for $800.
Crazy. And so you got set up, and then what happened next?
And then I obviously wanted to be better. So what I did is, the first project that I ever made was a project I made in shop class in high school. I'm like, I actually got the plans from my shop teacher, I have a very good relationship with now. And he gave me the plans, and I literally reproduced that project. I'm like, all right, this is a great start. It was a little step stool. I should have sent you a picture of it. It was a little step stool, all pocket fold joinery. I was so proud of it. I was like, wow, I did it in this little shop. I glued everything, jointed, planed, everything, did it. And then once I did that project, though, I had a hunger for more, really, really fast. So that's where the Maker's Mob comes in. Seen this guy, kind of weird, kind of quirky, Jesse Legeist.
Yeah.
You watch Jesse's videos in the beginning to now, well, Jesse was a little weirder back then.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like, but man, this guy is one hell of a craftsman. He is super, super talented. And it's like, I just want to be half of what this guy is. And watching his videos, and then all of a sudden, he's opening a school up. So I joined. Like, what the hell? Let's do it. So I joined, and every job I did, every project I did, and I started small, even with because Jesse really does have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And I recommend that for anyone who's thinking of joining the Maker's Mob. Like, it's not all advanced projects where it's out of reach. You really can take baby steps at
Yeah.
So I don't want that to discourage anybody. And I started posting stuff on Facebook, and I have friends like my friend Al and just other people that were commenting, and you do feel better, right? Obviously, nice comments make you feel better, but I was building not only skill, I was building confidence again.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. I'm to the point now, I feel great. My confidence is way up. It's like I know I'm a good craftsman. I can pretty well build anything. And it's helped even at my day job. It's like you've gotten your confidence back and you're just a good tradesman again.
Yeah. So overall, it's just, I mean, your journey. I've got some photos here, and I kind of want to show these off as we're chatting, just of some of the work that you've done. And I don't know if these are all in the right timeline, but these are some of the projects that Michael has built over the years. And when we were talking before, you were saying like step by step, each project that you made, kind of like that depression or that heaviness that you were feeling before was kind of just slowly, project by project, it was kind of lifting and going away. And like you're saying, you gained confidence, right?
If I could date the projects, you can literally see the progress in the project. You can be like, yeah, the work gets better every single project he does.
Yeah.
And like this toolbox, that was Christmas. I had one of my best friends comes home for Christmas. So I'm like, hey, like it'd be cool to do a project with you. And he's the one, like he takes care of my Instagram and all that because I have a little side business doing woodworking. And once I did this project, that was kind of like the final confidence boost I needed. It was like, you know what? It's time to do the workbench.
Yeah. So this was one of your latest ones that you did, not kind of back. So these guys here, these were other ones. These are all Samurai Carpenter plans, correct?
But these are great projects for somebody that wants to think about joining the Makers Mob because they're not out of reach. Yeah.
So that little coat hook shelf with the blackboard in it, that was actually part of the first joinery challenge that we did in the Makers Mob.
The joinery challenge for me was, and I've said it on other Facebook groups too, like I treated it like homework. Every Saturday morning, wake up, look at the plans, do the joints, and now I can apply those joints to just about anything. But that was huge. The joinery challenge is anybody that wants to develop their skills, do the joinery challenge. Like, don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, overall, I mean, you mentioned in our talk before, it was kind of like therapy.
100%. You can do it at your own pace, and it is therapy. And you're so proud when you do the joints, right? Like, what's so simple for some people, other people, it's a big accomplishment, and I was one of those people. So
yeah. So if you don't know what the joinery challenge is, I can actually show you guys. I've got here. I'll just do this. This is like we do sample joints like this. So this is one that the Samurai Carpenter Jesse will walk you through. I've got. Oh, these cameras are always messed up. The tongue, the tusk tenon, and we've got the doweled mortise and tenon. So we go through all these joints, and then at the very end, there's the wedged through tenon. At the very end, you do the project, which was the shelf for this for the first one, and then the second joinery challenge. There was a side table, a round side table that we made. So, anyways, back to kind of your story. So you started plugging away at these, and you felt like it was really like therapy to you, just getting in the shop.
100%.
How was like the online community for you during this time? I know that a lot of people who are into woodworking, kind of to the level you are at, say that they don't really have a community around them. How was that for you? Like just being involved in the community?
I would say the community is very strong in the Makers Mob. It's a very encouraging community. Like it is one of the only communities where the actual makers and the people that are inspiring a lot of your projects actually comment back. Like Jesse is so interactive with you. He'll answer any questions you have. He'll comment. You do a good job. He comments. He's so involved.
Yeah. So
I would say it's very strong. I would have to disagree. Like it's a beautiful community.
Yeah. This project here is one that you actually made for your son.
I actually made 2 of those, and it's in the spray booth. Yeah, I made 2 at the same time. I have a good friend, Tom, so his daughter needs a bed, and my son needs a bed, so they're in the spray booth getting stained and clear coated right now, so I'm just waiting for them to come out.
Nice. It's beautiful work.
Yeah, we're excited for it. It should be like another week, and we should get them back.
And then, I thought this was, the next picture was the workbench. But this was also one that kind of caught my eye in the photos. You sent me so many. There's lots of projects.
There's so much. Yeah, there's so much I've done.
But this was like, in your words, it was the milestone, and the kind of like, and this is very recent that you finished this. Tell me how it felt to kind of accomplish this, like to get this project done.
When I drove that last peg into that base, it was just like all the sadness and depression was lifted from me. I could feel it. It was like just God telling me, like, you're saved, you're good. And it was all through wood. The satisfaction that you get off building that bench and driving that last peg is a feeling that I can't even describe with someone who hasn't done the project. And especially someone who's suffered from mental illness, because mental illness is very real. So this bench is a milestone. It's just a milestone.
And it's absolutely stunning. Like, you did an absolutely beautiful job doing that. One thing we didn't talk about that we had mentioned is back kind of when you originally had signed up for the Makers Mob, there was a video that you had watched where Jesse actually was talking about mental illness. Yeah. And tell me kind of when you heard that, what that did for you, and because that kind of like started you on this whole journey as far as joining this community, right?
I was pretty surprised too, and I think a lot, even tonight, people are going to be surprised at this, but I was pretty surprised that Jesse was willing to be as open as he was about it. And I felt, if a guy can be that open about it, why can't I be open? Because I hid it from my family for a long time. I just battled through it. So once I seen that video, that was really the tipping point for me. Like, it's okay just to admit that you're not feeling okay. Just admit it. Just get it out in the open. And then my family's been my biggest supporters of this journey of getting better. And like Jesse said in the video, the best way is just to get your butt in the shop and keep building, and basically build your way out of this depression. And that's what I did. Every project is like a building block to me. And it was a block to get out of depression and to get feeling better. And it's been so long. And I actually said, I'm doing a dartboard cabinet today. And I'm like, I said to myself, like, wow, you finally feel better. I do not have a negative thought in my head. Even if I wanted to have one, I don't have it. It's not there.
Yeah, you were mentioning that your friends and people that know you say you're like the happiest guy in the world now.
I'm the most positive person. Yeah, I get that a lot. They're like, you're the most positive person. And it's like, well, I wasn't always like that. I definitely was not always like that, but you work for that. Yeah. Anybody can be positive. Anybody can get out of a groove that you're in. That's what I call it. I call it a groove because you're very slow to get out or get in, but it's very slow to get out of depression. Yeah. So woodworking is a very therapeutic way and a safe way to get out of the depression. It's it gives you purpose again. Yeah. And I like to push myself. I've always pushed myself. Like, I have no problem with that. So if you're the Makers Mob is a huge tool to do that because of all the joinery, and I like to think that our group is a little bit on the higher end of skills. Yeah. There's some amazingly talented people in our group. Just, I wish I knew half of what these guys knew, and you can always kind of push yourself to be as good as they are. Yeah. Yeah. One of those guys that's extremely talented in the Makers Mob is actually this guy.
What's up?
Jesse.
How's it going, Michael?
So good, Jesse. I'm so good.
I told Jesse about your story the other day, and he's like, yeah, I want to come on and chat a bit. So
honestly, Jesse, I can't even. You saved my life.
Dude,
you saved my life.
That's amazing to hear, man. I feel blessed to have been to be used in such a way, and in a way, craftsmanship was me in an effort to save my own life, having struggled from, depression and stuff for quite a while. And, to hear stories like yours, where it's had similar effect, when you've been in a real dark place, to come back from that and to find some purpose, through using your hands. It's like, man, that's amazing.
Nobody really realizes when it grips you how hard it grips you.
Yeah, you don't see any way out. And even when you look around and you see, good things in your life, you go, what's wrong with me? Why can't I see the light? Why can't I, break this darkness off of me, right? But
That's
for some
my wife
reason,
used to say to me too, like, why do you feel that way? Like, we live in a nice home, we go on vacations, we drive nice vehicles, we make good money. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It's just,
Yeah.
I think down at the core, we need to know that we're, especially men need to know that what they're doing isn't futile. It doesn't. We're spending our energy and our passion, and we want to know that it's bringing some good or some purpose. And it's really hard in this day and age to be able to measure that, I guess. Whereas, when you do a simple craft like woodworking, it challenges you in so many different ways, and you learn new skills, and it's quite easy, it's quite tangible to see, when I apply myself, I can make this, and if I apply myself more, what could I make? And all of a sudden it kind of, I think it reawakens the the parts of our psyche that are kind of dying in this modern age, but they're very important. They're important parts to continue to build upon, especially hands-on skills, because I think it's easy to be like, oh, my phone could just take care of my life, as long as I know how to use my phone correctly. But it's like, well,
my wife just bought me a CNC machine, and like my buddies have been bugging me like, oh, when are you going to learn it? But like my buddies don't get it. It's like, yeah, but I work with my hands. Like,
yeah,
like it's great the computer can do it, but I don't want that. Like that.
Yeah.
That's not what saved my life. The computer did shit for me.
Yeah.
So it's my tools that helped me.
Yeah. No,
Like,
having that, it's like, that's like your security in a way. It's like, sure, let's use the technology, let's use, tools and resources that are available to us. But knowing that, if the shit really did hit the fan, it's like you have skills that are of value, no matter what. You can build something.
That's what was missing.
Yeah.
That's what was missing in my life, was knowing like there was no gratitude. Like I do heating and cooling, so I go put someone's furnace in, and it's like lucky if I get a thank you at the end of the day. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You build someone a beautiful kitchen table, and they're like talking about it for months on end. Like, so
no,
I guess
it's pretty rewarding.
But it was a gratitude that I was missing.
And you said yourself, like you didn't. I mean, it was purpose that you were kind of missing out on, which is kind of one of the things I wanted you to just share with Jesse. Kind of your plans that you have for kind of moving forward, and what you were talking to me about as far as setting up that program.
Yeah, well, teaching obviously in the stores for me. I love teaching, just like Jesse does. So I want to get a youth club after school to teach kids these skills, because it's not that I'll never take a good kid in my club, because I would, but I want the troubled kids. I want the kids that aren't doing well. Instead of being on the corner smoking pot or doing whatever they're going to do, they could be in my shop class learning a skill.
Yeah.
Trades are dying to begin with. Like, that's a whole other conversation that we could spend the whole night on. But to be able to hone these kids' skills and give them a purpose and give them somewhere to go, kids that don't have fathers or anything. So I want to work with kids. To me, I got to give back. I have to give back what Jesse gave to me, what the Maker's Mob gave to me. I have to give it back. And that's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And, we got nothing but support and encouragement for that, because really that is kind of what it's all about. And, I kind of stumbled into what I'm doing now in an effort to make a better living and be able to spend more time with my family and not just be, out there hustling and contracting all the time, and so I've been blessed in that, and giving back, has also blessed me, as an income earner. But it is very important, and especially, youth, that, I think that tugs, anybody who's a father or works with the youth realizes kind of how pivotal those young years are, especially in adolescence, where it's like, if you don't give a kid something healthy or constructive to do, they're going to find something stupid to do, and so it's like, either way, their curiosity has to be satisfied, and they're going to go out and do something stupid if you don't give them something useful to do. Right. And so I got nothing but respect and excitement for, for you in that goal, but as it's going to be a lot of work, and that's one thing that we understand here at the Makers Mob is, like, you put in the work, you get the results, and when you work with people, it's a whole nother dynamic, and it's challenging in other ways. But if you do it, if you stick with it, if you persist through that shitty, hard, hurdles that are going to come with any new endeavor, it's like the reward is worth it, right? And you're kind of a testimony of that, where it's like, you could have just kept watching and been like, yeah, that samurai guy, he sounds all right, but not my thing, right? And then what situation would you be in? But you took action, right? You took action on, whatever inspirational thing that, struck you about my content or whatever, and taking action is what's transformed you, right? And that is ultimately a result of your own efforts, and it's like, you share your gratefulness with me, and I go, man, like, I feel blessed, because ultimately you saw me doing what I'm doing, but you took action on it, right? So you had that faith to say, man, if this guy can do it and he seems pretty down to earth or whatever, why can't I do it? I'm going to try, right? That's the part where
I think you nailed it with persistence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I watched a guy who's building amazing stuff, doesn't have this crazy fancy shop, because I notice it, and this guy's making the nicest stuff probably in the world, and that really keened on to me too. Like, it's not about who's got the fanciest tools and, I need this and I need that. Man, just get your butt in the shop and do it.
Yeah.
Just do the job. And that's what I did. That's what I focused on. I never focused on the tools. Like, the tools came after. Like, I'm 4 years into this. I've got a decent shop. I've got nice tools. I've got the sweetest workbench in my area. But it came after. Like, I built my workbench on my planer. I clamped most of this bench on the bed of my planer because I didn't have a workbench to build it on. Like, but I did it.
Jesse did it on his floor of his shop when you first did it, right?
Yeah, it's like my shop was empty, and I was like, "Crap, I need a workbench," and I just used whatever I had, but that's the thing, right? As soon as you make up your mind and say, "I'm doing this," it's like all the little hurdles and stuff are there, and they're hard and they're frustrating, and you're swearing and you're whatever trying to get shit done, but as long as you've made up your mind, you do get to that finish line. And when you do, it's like, what a relief and what joy comes from building, right?
Workbench was my finish line. And I'm there, and I don't have any negative thought at this point anyway. Could change, I don't know, because that's how depression works. It just grabs you when you least expect it. But I have no negative thoughts. And the Workbench was the finish line. It's a pinnacle project. It's you drive those wedges in, and it's just like, I did it. Like, I finally did it.
Yeah.
And like I was telling Adam, and unless you've done the project, you don't really know how that feels, right? Like,
Yeah. No, and that workbench was a challenge for anybody. For me, and even if I was to make another one today, I'm like, that tests you. A project of that size and that complexity, it's kind of like, wow, like, this is really... Nobody
gets it. Like, I have had many friends come over and they go, wow, what a nice bench, but nobody really gets, like, they don't really know what they're looking at. They don't get it. And it's okay because they didn't build it, but the bench meant a lot more than just like a piece of wood to me. It was it was a milestone. It's a big thing in my life right now. So
yeah, it's something because it's like I've looked at woodworking and you know, not to like get all philosophical or spiritual and stuff like that, but it's like, you know, everything that you build, you know, when you build it, it's a reflection of you. It's a, you know, whether it's a really rough looking piece of furniture or something because you didn't have any skills or tools, it's like that was a reflection of you at that moment in your life where you had no tools and you didn't really know what you were doing. And that is like a time stamp. It's like a time capsule in a way, right? Where it's like you can look at that workbench and go like, man, look at the evolution of my skills from what I built 5 years ago in, you know, shop class or whatever, and look at this workbench. Like, I clearly can do this. I clearly can make this look beautiful. And this workbench is proof, you know, in a way, it's like a resume. Whereas there's so many things in life, and when you're looking on your phone and stuff like that, where you kind of go, oh, I could do that, or I could do this. But it's like, until you have that proof, you know, which a piece of furniture is, it's proof of who you are and where your skills are at. And when you know, build more complex stuff and challenge yourself even more and make new finish lines and new goals, set new goals. And when you get to those, you go, wow, look at who I am now. Look what I can accomplish now, right? And it's just, everything's a confidence builder, right?
And that's the key. It's, you can reflect and look back and say, like, look at who I am. I am a good person. I am good inside. And why was I depressed? Because that really is what it is. That's what we struggle with. We try to find our identity, and you sometimes you can't find your identity. So yeah, I think that's for the maker's mob. Anyway, for me, like, I used woodworking, but I guess it could be any hobby. And I encourage anyone to do it, is to find a hobby that gives you purpose in life and gives you that sense of accomplishment. Like, I feel like I can accomplish almost anything in woodworking right now. Like, and even if I mess it up, I will figure it out. Like,
and that's the attitude that I have towards everything, right? It's like, I've just bought this off-grid property that's boat-in access, and I go like, what have I got myself into, right? I'm like, I have an idea, and I know that I can do it, but I know it's going to push me to my limits in many respects. But that's what I want, you know. It's like, I think, you know, I can only speak from a male perspective in the fact that it's just like, you know, if I'm not being challenged, if I'm not taking risk, and I'm not kind of on the edge of my abilities, I feel without purpose. You know, I feel, you know, like, what am I doing this for?
I struggle with that on my daily job every day.
Yeah.
Every day. It's just because I'm almost bored. It's like, I've done the job I could probably do the job blindfolded.
Yeah.
I started when I was 14 years old. Like, I don't need practice.
Yeah.
So woodworking, though, is like a whole new endeavor in my life. And I'm far from being able to do it blindfolded. So
don't recommend that.
Yeah, I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Table saw blindfolded.
I'll be okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I just love hearing, Michael, your story. I love that you are willing to come out and just share it. I hope that if people are struggling in a way that they can relate to your story before, that this has helped them in some way, that give them a positive perspective, and maybe point them in a direction that'll help them. So both of you guys. My big thing
is like what Jesse did. I just talk, just communicate with people. Like, Jesse did it on live internet, and
so are you.
I mean, that's pretty extreme, and I'm doing it, and that's pretty extreme. But like, the big thing is just communicate with your family. If you're going to communicate with anyone, just like, if nobody knows, nobody knows. Like, I think Jesse would agree with me. You've got to tell people.
Yeah, you got to bring it out, be vulnerable, and that's the first step, is just, you know, honesty, right? It's like, I think we're all searching for the truth, and you know, the first place you have to start in that search is acknowledging the truth of where you are, where right now, whether you're in the deepest, darkest hole that you've ever been in, or you're on a mountaintop. You know, you have to speak that out, and you have to be vulnerable and say, you know, this is where I'm starting, and it's scary, and I need help or whatever, right? And then, you know, that's where you move. So it's obviously just that transparency and honesty that really sets us all free. You know, the truth shall set you free. And, and that's, you know, it's really hard to sometimes, you know, speak out the truth, especially when you're in a really, really rough spot, but it's necessary, right? For your own healing and for the fruit and the healing that comes from overcoming these things, right? And it's like, sure, we're gonna deal with anxiety and depression and whatever, you know, your darkness or demons, whatever you want to call it is. It's like, we're, you know, that's not going to stop. Life is going to keep throwing that stuff at you and reminding you of your, you know, your weaknesses. But it's when you know that you also have strength to balance your weakness, right? That's the balance, right? It's like, nobody's perfect. There's always going to be, you know, a balance of chaos and order in your life, kind of, you know, what Jordan Peterson or other philosophers might say. And so you kind of go, okay, like, yeah, my life's not going to be all in the clear now just because you know, I'm on this high or this, you know, this good place. I know another, you know, low spot's going to come, but I know that I also have the resources, the support, the family, and the skills that will take me through that next low season in my life. And so it's like, you know, it's not so much you're not thinking about it, or you're not, you know, you think you're invulnerable to other bad things happening in life. It's like, you know, we just got the, you know, the traumatic news that my father-in-law passed away of a sudden heart attack, and we're reeling from that and grieving from that. And my wife, you know, and is really, you know, experiencing that on an even deeper level because it was obviously her father. But, you know, I was also very close with him, and we kind of go, man, like, where did this come from? And where's the fairness in that? And where's the justice in this great man dying before his time? And you know, and that brings about so much other darkness in your life that could easily overwhelm you. But, you know, knowing who I am, knowing who he was, I kind of go, okay, like, I want to honor him. I want to honor his life. How do I honor his life? Well, I live like he would live. And he was always a hard worker, and he was always a servant. And I go, man, like, I need to serve more. I need to give more to my family. And I'm using that as fuel to become a better person, as opposed to letting it take me out. Right. And so it's like, sure, the process of grief is going to continue on in our life for the next while, for the rest of our life, really. And who knows what other traumas life is going to bring at you. But, you know, when you have an awesome community and when you have good family and support, it's like all those things are okay. You can deal with them. Right. And so, yeah, it's encouraging to hear these stories that are going to knit us together even that much tighter, you know, where it's like, this transcends woodworking, but woodworking is a great start, and it's a great anchor. You know, it bonds us to the world that we live in, to these materials and these things that we touch and come in contact with and use on a daily basis, right? So, yeah, it's encouraging to hear, you know, all these great stories.
It was definitely my start for sure, and it was encouraging. Like, I don't know, I can't thank you enough. Really, I'm kind of speechless. You have no idea.
You know, we're just as blessed to, you know, have people like you in our group who are willing to come out and share that, you know. So it's awesome. At the end of the day, we're all just men, flesh and blood, like anybody else, you know. And, you know, someone might have more skills or be able to edit videos to make themselves look cool. But, you know, the thing that I'm always kind of blown away with, you know, people kind of put my skills or whatever up above, and I go, well, you know, if you really spent, you know, a couple of weeks in my shop, you can realize, like, I'm not doing anything that special, but I am, you know, persisting, and I am challenging myself. That's, you know,
that's me too. Like, people come, my too are like, oh my God, look at what you did, and it's like, yeah, but you didn't see my scrap pile, like, in the corner. Like, I'm just persistent. I don't give up.
And that's everybody. That's every great person. That's every artist. I'm sure Michelangelo and Da Vinci and all these guys, you know, had to throw away 1,000 canvases, you know, before they painted some great masterpiece that we talk about till this day, right? And, you know, like, at the end of the day, we're all human, right? Let's at least acknowledge that and realize, you know, it's like the failures are all right there. And honestly, like, that's kind of my mantra that I kind of put out there, is like, embrace the failure, because if you embrace it enough, it leads to success, right? So,
They're in my fire pit.
yeah,
There you go.
I got lots of firewood. I burn my scrap pile and all my offcuts and whatever is almost enough to heat my house for the whole winter time.
Holy.
So it's like I go through a lot of wood, and a lot of it's mistakes, and a lot of it's just offcuts. But as long as you keep making that man glitter, that's sawdust.
Yeah, lots of mistakes.
That's awesome, guys. I'm so thankful to have you both on here. Thank you, Michael, for sharing your story.
Thank you.
We're gonna wrap this thing up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope that you were surprised, Michael, with the samurai showing up here.
Very, actually.
Yeah, I saw your. Someone mentioned that Mikey's having a fanboy moment for sure. Something in there.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, which was awesome. If you guys want to join me next week, I'm going to be live with Rob Rojas from Rojas Carpentry. And we're going to be talking about his small little workshop and the things that he does out of there, which is going to be fun. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. If you want to join the Makers Mob, click the link around you and do that and get in on the community and everything that it has to offer. But yeah, thank you so much, Jesse, for joining us. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks,
My pleasure, man. Great to meet you, Michael.
Me too.
It was awesome.
Hopefully we can do some in-house workshops sometime when they open the borders and let people travel again.
Well, he's in Canada.
Hey, you guys
you're Canadian. Okay.
You guys
Where are you?
I'm in Ontario.
Out east. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're not even allowed to leave your province right now, but hopefully we'll change that soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need a new prime minister. Not our problem.
Yeah. Whoa! Hey, we're getting all political.
I agree with you, but we're not going down that road.
All right, guys, that's it for now. We're signing off. Have a great evening, everybody.
All right.
And we'll see you guys all on the next live.